Welcome back to this month's episode of GWeek.
Thanks for joining us. As the semester comes to a close, we'll be covering the reopening of Lerner Health and Wellness Center, the opening of the DC Museum of Illusions, and former President Donald Trump's potential 2024 campaign announcement.
We'll also provide updates on the Halloween night crowd crush in South Korea, UK's new Prime Minister, and the GW men's basketball game. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. I'm Morgan Miller.
And I'm Aleena Fayaz. GW men's basketball team played their home opener against the Virginia State Trojans on Monday, November 7th. The Colonial season started with a phenomenal 85-58 win. Before the game, GW Fraternity and Sorority Life hosted a tailgate in partnership with Georgia's Army with food and games. There was a huge student and fan turnout for the game, and it was noticed. Brandon Adams even said, quote, "We came out at halftime and had a lot of guys talking about the environment," end quote. James Bishop, senior guard and one of the best known players on the team, stated, quote, "It was like a sixth player on the floor," end quote, as tweeted by David Korn, director of WRGW Sports.
After Boris Johnson's resignation as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in the summer of 2022, Liz Truss took over in September and held the position for 50 days. She resigned in the wake of Queen Elizabeth II's death amidst an economic and political crisis. The Conservatives elected Rishi Sunak as their party leader, and King Charles III has officially appointed him as Prime Minister, ushering in an era of change. Amita Ganesh has the story.
Liz Truss replaced former Prime Minister Boris Johnson on September 6, 2022. She was elected by members of the Conservative Party and was appointed by the late Queen Elizabeth II just days before her passing. The UK entered a period of mourning which put politics on pause. As mourning concluded, her trusted financier and longtime political ally, Kwasi Kwarteng, announced plans to cut taxes for the country's highest earners and largest corporations, but there was no plan to make this money back. Almost immediately, the British pound's value dropped. Inflation in the UK was already at its record high, and this plan only raised the cost of living further. This damaged the Conservative Party's reputation for fiscal responsibility. Truss fired Kwarteng in an attempt to get the economy back on track and hired former Health and Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt as his successor. Many other officials were fired or resigned under Truss's rule. Her final day in office was marked by a disorderly parliamentary vote on fracking. She resigned as Prime Minister with an approval rating of negative 70% after holding the position for the shortest amount of time in British history. After losing to Truss just weeks prior, the Conservative Party elected Rishi Sunak as its leader. He was appointed by King Charles III on October 25th, making Sunak the UK's third Prime Minister this year. Sunak is the UK's first Prime Minister of colour and at age 42 is also the youngest British leader in over 200 years. According to AP News, Sunak is, quote, "seen by his party as a safe pair of hands to stabilise the economy sliding toward recession," end quote. Sunak immediately formed a cabinet that included members of different wings of the Conservative Party. He removed members from Truss's government and added members from Boris Johnson's. He hopes this cabinet will erase the mistakes of the previous government. However, a lawmaker from the opposing Labour Party stated, quote, "This is not a fresh start. It is the same Conservative cabinet of chaos," end quote. The Conservative Party is currently behind the Labour Party in opinion polls, and public pressure is growing to call an early election. Sunak stated, quote, "I understand I have to work to restore trust after all that's happened. All I can say is that I'm not daunted," end quote. For GWeek, I'm Amita Ganesh.
Thanks, Amita. Former President Donald Trump has broken his silence regarding the 2024 presidential election. Rumored to announce a bid for the Republican nomination on November 15th, Trump discouraged other Republicans from seeking the nomination. At a rally in Ohio, Trump stated, quote, "This is the year we're going to take back the House. We're going to take back the Senate, and we're going to take back America," end quote. The controversial former president also endorsed multiple candidates prior to the November 8th midterm elections. Among them, Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy of California and Rep. Elise Stefanik of New York. However, Trump did not hold back from criticism. He expressed his dissatisfaction with Republican Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, suggesting that the Florida Senator Rick Scott should take his role. Additionally, Trump further hinted at a potential presidential run, stating, quote, "In 2024, most importantly, we are going to take back our magnificent White House," end quote.
Lerner Health and Wellness Center opened up to students 2 weeks ago after being closed since the start of the semester. Theo Lawson has the story.
Much to the delight of many GW students, Lerner Health and Wellness Center finally opened on October 31st. The gym has been closed since the end of spring 2022 for extensive HVAC work. Lerner, also known as Hellwell, has 2 gyms, 4 basketball courts, a jogging track, a pool, and a free weight and cardiovascular fitness center. They also offer group fitness classes and more intramural sports, with registration available via contacting imsports@gwu.edu. The gym is open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Sunday from noon to 8 p.m. Lerner will also be closed through Thanksgiving break. We hope you take advantage of this opportunity to stay in shape this semester. Signing off for GWeek, I'm Thea Lawson.
Thanks, Thea. In Seoul, South Korea, 156 people were killed on Halloween night. The streets of the town Itaewon were flooded with people who were there to celebrate a festival, the first unrestricted one in over 3 years. As the night continued, the partygoers were unable to move or get off the streets because of the amount of people. The situation quickly turned dangerous, with many being crushed in the crowd. Authorities arrived on the scene after reports of, quote, people being buried, end quote. However, the volume of people made it difficult for first responders to reach those who needed help. Police officers were also mistaken as people in costume, which only added to the confusion. The trauma resulting from the crush has turned into public outrage over the government's planning missteps and inadequate police response.
With registration happening November 14th through 18th, GW has offered a new helpful feature called Plan Ahead. This feature, which can be accessed through your GWeb information systems under your registration menu, allows you to create up to 5 different class plans and use one to directly register for all your classes. According to an email sent to students on November 8th from GW's Office of Registrar, quote, creating a plan does not guarantee that a seat in the course will be available at the time of your registration, end quote.
In August of 2021, 22-year-old Gabby Petito's death sparked outrage across the United States. Just a year later, Petito's parents, Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt, are suing the Moab police in Utah for neglecting to properly investigate domestic violence concerns between Laundrie and Petito. Madeline Sykes has the story.
In August of 2021, Petito went missing on a cross-country road trip with her then-boyfriend, Brian Laundrie. Her disappearance garnered support and concern across the nation as her family and friends attempted to bring her home to safety. Following the discovery of her murder, Laundrie took his own life, leaving behind an 8-page confession note. On August 5th, Petito's parents filed a $50 million lawsuit against the Moab, Utah police for neglecting to properly investigate Laundrie after a domestic disturbance 2 weeks prior to her death. Discussing the disappearance of her daughter following the domestic disturbance, Petito's mother stated, quote, there are laws put in place to protect victims, and those laws were not followed, end quote. Body cam video from the event shows the couple stopped by 2 police officers after a witness reported seeing Laundrie strike Petito. Petito later told the officers they had been arguing, resulting in him becoming violent towards her. Later in the video, she is further seen crying to the officers and describing herself as the perpetrator, rather than the victim. The 2 officers determined that the event did not classify as domestic violence and separated the couple for the night. According to the Washington Post, quote, an independent investigation later concluded that the officers made several unintentional mistakes, end quote. A 102-page report completed by Captain Brandon Ratcliffe of the Price City Police Department stated that the officers failed to interview both persons involved in the dispute, as well as neglected to cite Petito for domestic violence. The report further states that, quote, plans are in place to add a trained domestic violence specialist to oversee incidents investigated by Moab officers, end quote. Following a notice of intent to sue, the parents of Petito have officially filed for the alleged wrongful death of their daughter. Petito's loved ones hope to use the $50 million to fund the Gabby Petito Foundation, which seeks to help missing victims of domestic violence and assists other similar organizations. For GWeek, I'm Madeline Sykes.
Thanks, Madeline. Just a week before Election Day, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ordered officials to disallow mail-in ballots marked with the incorrect date on the outer envelope. Furthermore, the court stated that the county boards must segregate and preserve undated or incorrectly dated ballots in the case that the decision is overturned by a higher court. The ruling pleased Republicans who have long attempted to limit mail-in voting due to inaccuracies and election security. In response, Democratic candidate John Fetterman filed a lawsuit stating the exclusion of these ballots was unconstitutional and would sway the election results. While no decision has been made regarding his lawsuit, Fetterman prevailed as a senator-elect of Pennsylvania against his Republican opponent, Dr. Mehmet Oz.
It's been a busy time for the Washington Metro. Not only has the long-anticipated Silver Line extension to Ashburn finally been given an opening date, but recent improvement projects on several of the Metro's heavily used routes have been completed. Preston Summit has the story.
Following several years of political turmoil and construction delays, the announcement of the November 15th opening date for the WMATA Silver Line extension was made through a video released by Metro Board members. It featured the employees of the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority expressing enthusiasm for the anticipated opening of the Silver Line with the phrase, "We're ready." However, while the new Silver Line extension may be the crown jewel of Washington's metro network, other significant improvements in the quality of service have been delivered in recent months. A similar project on the yellow and blue lines was also completed rather recently, as a shutdown of all yellow line service commenced on September 10th, so that bridge and tunnel rehabilitation work specific to that line could be completed to ensure the safety and reliability of the system. At the same time, Metro service south of Reagan National Airport Station was also suspended on the blue and yellow lines for the similar purpose of track construction in order to integrate the new Potomac Yard station. So I stand here in Alexandria, one of the many towns that saw their Metro service disrupted by this shutdown. I can also report that, fortunately, for the GW students as well as regular commuters that rely on the Metro to get to Northern Virginia, all of the sections of the Blue Line have reopened to full operational status on November 5th. This, of course, now brings us to the Silver Line extension, which has arguably received more attention and anticipation than any of the previously mentioned projects, for perhaps good reason. And so, to help explain the significance and importance of the Silver Line extension, Byung So is standing by with an interview he's conducted with public transportation advocate Jeremy Zorek, a junior at Rutgers University.
Hello, dear viewers. My name is Byung So, and I'll be conducting this interview with.
I'm Jeremy Zorek. I'm a transit enthusiast and a urban planning student at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Do you perhaps have any predictions about, like, perhaps unforeseen consequences of this extension?
I think it's going to probably drive more development out by like Tyson's and Ashburn. I think that, people are going to realize that it'll be a lot easier to get to Dulles now. And also, of course, like Fairfax and Loudoun are routing local bus service to serve the stations, which, hopefully means that people will just be able to leave the car at home altogether.
And what would you say are like some of the issues WMATA should probably clear up?
I think frequency, which they are working on. I know that their goal, is like by December, the red line will be every 6 minutes all day. And then I think by early next year, they want to have it down to 4 minutes at peak and then 6 minutes all day. So I think, bringing Metro back to sort of its pre-pandemic frequency is really important, especially now that there have been large crowding issues at rush hour with reduced headways.
Thanks, Preston. The new Museum of Illusions will be having their grand opening on Tuesday, December 13th. It's located at 927 H Street Northwest and will be open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sundays. The tickets will be available for $23.95 for adults and $18.95 for children's ages 5 to 12. The museum will feature multiple interactive exhibits. According to Fox 5, visitors can expect, quote, a smart playroom where guests can play and compete in games, puzzles, and other brain teasers, end quote. Tickets are already available on their website, www.museumofillusions.com.
2 weeks after Brazil's presidential election, there are still claims of election fraud from the far right and from supporters of President Jair Bolsonaro. Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva defeated Bolsonaro in the presidential election on October 30th. The results of the election were reviewed by Brazilian government officials and security experts who have found no evidence of election fraud. After investigation, security experts found the electronic voting system in Brazil to be, quote, reliable, efficient, and like any other digital system, not 100% secure, end quote, said Jack Nicas, the Brazil bureau chief for the New York Times. This small finding has allowed conspiracy theorists to doubt the integrity of the election. Brazil election officials responded to these claims by ordering tech companies to suspend the accounts of conservative voices online for posting misleading information. Alexandre de Moraes, Brazil's top election official and Supreme Court judge, is at the forefront of this mission to stop election misinformation from spreading. He said that election fraud claims are, quote, a criminal threat to Brazil's democracy, end quote.
On Tuesday, November 8th, D.C. voters flocked to the voting booths. On their ballots was Initiative 82, the 2018 referendum to raise the minimum wage for tipped employees. Despite the divide between workers, restaurants, and labor unions, the majority of voters voted yes in favor of 82, allowing the minimum wage for tipped employees to be raised to $16.10 rather than the current $5.35 by 2027. The increased wage now brings tipped workers to the same pay rate as their non-tipped counterparts. According to the Washington Post, one voter stated, quote, "Yes, it might put pressure on businesses, but ultimately you want to make sure people get paid," end quote.
We are now joined by our lifestyle correspondents Emma Myers and Charlie Mark to talk about restaurants on and off GWorld.
Thanks, Aleena. If you're sick of on-campus food at this point in the semester like me, GWeek researchers have rounded up the best restaurants on and off campus.
The first restaurant on this list is Tonic at Quigley's, a classic on campus known for their tater tots, burgers, and nachos. Flower Child is also a great option for food that's healthy and feels home cooked. On the northern part of campus, it has indoor and outdoor seating and a great atmosphere to sit with friends.
My personal off-campus favorite is Sede Osteria, located in DuPont Circle. It's about a 20-minute walk off campus. While it may not be on campus or on GWorld, their pasta carbonara is absolutely to die for, and it's available on Grubhub. Another great off-campus option found in DuPont Circle is Chico, which is a Korean-Chinese fusion restaurant. They have a variety of options from fried rice to pot stickers to cumin lamb stir-fry.
Late nights and early mornings are bound to happen in college, which is why both Carvings and GW Deli are next up on this list. Carvings offers the best late night food on campus, open until 3 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays.
Deli is the perfect option for breakfast or lunch. From bagels to sandwiches, it's the best of the best. If you're looking for recommendations, at GWDeli_reviews on Instagram has reviewed both classics and lesser-known items on the menu. Personally, my go-to is a bacon, egg, and cheese on an Asiago cheese bagel. You know, Morgan, you really seem like a bagel girly to me. What's your deli order?
I gotta say, I do love a good bagel. Being from Illinois, did not always grow up with the best bagels, but going to deli, usually I am a egg, cheese, and avocado on an Asiago bagel. Gotta say, it's the best kind of bagel. How about you, Aleena?
I don't go to deli as often as I should. I do everything with egg, cheese, avocado, turkey bacon, or turkey sausage. Depends on the day. Yeah, Charlie, what about you?
I'm not gonna have a pretty similar order to Emma. I go for a bacon, egg, and cheese on an everything bagel.
Oh, good choice.
While these are just a few of the amazing restaurants in DC and on campus, we hope this was a little helpful as the semester comes to a close. Let us know what restaurants are your favorite. I'm Charlie Mark.
And I'm Emma Myers. Back to you, Aleena and Morgan.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for tuning to GWeek this semester. Signing off, I'm Aleena Fayaz.
And I'm Morgan Miller. As always, check us out at gw-tv.com and on our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. Until next time, GW.
Cheers.